Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I am Silver Shepherd and I talk about anything and everything gold and silver related. And today we're covering a topic that some people don't know a lot about, and that is junk silver. And in the video we'll cover, what is junk silver, why it's such a big deal today, how to calculate its silver content and value, and whether it still makes sense to buy in 2025. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, so let's start with the basics. Junk silver is just a nickname for US coins made before 1965 that contain 90% real silver. And we're talking about dimes, quarters, and half dollars that were minted 1964 and earlier. Coins like the Mercury dimes, Roosevelt dimes, Washington quarters, Franklin quarters, Kennedy halves, walking liberties, standing liberties, coins like that. Now, the term junk silver doesn't mean it is absolutely worthless, and to be quite frank, it's far from it. It simply means the coins have no collector or numismatic value. They've worn, circulated, and are traded purely for its silver contents. As you can see, some of these coins are quite worn. However, some of them are not. That one's quite shiny, and you can see other ones are not. So some of them do have a bit of wear and tear, and that's just because they've been used for hundreds upon hundreds of years, especially coins like this Standing Liberty right here. So how much silver is actually in these coins is a very interesting topic. So these coins are obviously 90% silver and 10% copper, and the total silver weight depends on the denomination of them. So dimes are 0.0723 troy ounces of silver, quarters are 0.1808 troy ounces, and half dollars are 0.3617 troy ounces. So for example, if you have a dollar face value of junk silver, that's typically 10 dimes, 4 quarters, or 2 half dollars, you got about 0.715 troy ounces of silver after the wear and tear. So that number, 0.715, is key for the math. So if silver is, let's say, $30 an ounce, 30 times 0.715 is about $21.45 worth of silver for every dollar face value of junk silver. And that's how stackers like you and I figure out what they're actually paying for the silver contents and why we should stack this. So there are three main reasons, and that is the recognition, divisibility, and history. So first, recognition. Everyone knows what a US dime or quarter looks like. You don't have to test it. You don't have to explain it. People trust it. And that makes junk silver one of the most recognizable forms of silver in the entire world. Next is the divisibility of it. It's perfect for smaller trades or bartering. You don't need to break it up like a 10-ounce bar. If you need to have 7 ounces of silver, or sell 7 ounces, and you have a 10-ounce bar, well, you can't. You have to sell all 10 ounces. You won't be able to break it up. Whereas if you have 5-ounce bar and some junk silver, you'll be able to get exactly 7 ounces. So it plays a huge role in the divisibility, and it is awesome. You can trade a few dimes or quarters in emergency barter situations or local exchanges and things like that. So it becomes really useful in that. And the history and nostalgia of it, a lot of stackers just like holding a piece of real, American history. These coins have been circulated. They've been touched in the hands of, since for hundreds upon hundreds of years, some of these coins. And that is really cool to think about. I have a Barber coin somewhere in here, but it's a 1907. And so, I mean, it's been touched for well over 100 years, and that's just pretty cool to think about. So does buying it in 2025 make sense? And the short answer to that is yes, but it kind of depends upon the premiums that come with it. In 2020 to 2022, premiums on junk silver went absolutely wild. People were paying 40 to 50% over spot, which made it quite unattractive. But lately, premiums have calmed down a lot, and you can get junk silver at quite a reasonable price, and it's one of the best long-term stacking options. I've actually gotten most of my junk silver recently completely at spot price, which has been awesome just because dealers and stuff are wanting to just kind of offload it, so you're getting it for a very good price. And here's why you should be stacking this in 2025. It's fractional, like I've mentioned before. It's very easy to sell in small amounts. It's easy to verify. No need for testing equipment. It's tax-free in many private transactions in the US because it is legal tender, and it is one of the cheapest ways you can go about getting silver. If I were to have bought rounds or something, I would have paid more for getting the amount of ounces I did in junk silver. So, it's very cheap. Just make sure you're buying from reputable online sources or local coin shops. But if you are going to buy online, get JM Bullion, SD Bullion, or APMEX, and always check on the math price per ounce. And if you can get near spot or with a small premium, it's hard to go wrong with junk silver. So there are just two downsides to junk silver that I personally see. The first one is that it takes up a lot more space because it's so much smaller in denomination, that it takes more volume to store the same amount of silver compared to bars or rounds. And if you don't have a huge or large amount of space or a big safe, that can become pretty detrimental to your stack and its security. So that's always a good thing to keep in mind. And then the second thing is the premiums can swing a lot. Some dealers mark it up when the demand spikes a whole lot, and so it's not always very cheap to get. But with that being said, most long-term stackers still keep at least a small amount of their portion in junk silver for balance and liquidity reasons. So at the end of the day, junk silver isn't junk, it has real silver, it's real history, and one of the most practical stacking options that there is out there. So, if you're buying, if you're building a silver stack for long-term savings, diversification, emergency use, or having just some pre-1965 coins in your stack, it makes complete sense to do, even now. So, they're trusted, they're recognizable, and they're a piece of the history. And the best part, you can find them at coin shops very, very easily. They all have an abundance. So, they're always very, very easy to get. So, yeah, hope you guys found this video useful. Make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and if you love talking about gold and silver, keep watching and stay tuned for my videos. Hope you guys enjoyed.